Hi everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Hi Vidim-san. Hi Michael-san. Hi Alex-san. Thank you so much for coming. I'm sorry for being a little bit late. It's been pretty chaotic the last few days, or honestly this whole month. And unfortunately, like something is going on with like our internet here, and I'm not really sure. So if the stream dies, it's not your internet. It's probably here. So I'm not sure, but thank you so much for coming. And yeah, just like the last few days have been so crazy, and but in a good way. Just like it's good to be busy, and it's good to have a lot of ceremonies and things to do, and it's good to be healthy in order to do them. But yeah, it's just been it's been hard to keep on top of everything. Hi, Raisa, welcome. So yeah, so today's stream, it's probably going to be a little bit shorter. I always say that, but then I end up talking so much. But hopefully this time will actually be shorter because tomorrow is another early day and there's a lot of things to do. So hopefully um, I can we can have a good discussion in on and finish on time. But it's okay. I can always extend a bit, but hopefully aim for just an hour and a half or so, an hour. But I hope everyone's doing well and everything's going good as much as we can. So for today's stream, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit. Like the first thing I want to talk about is not so um, how should I say, not so like philosophical or deeper, but something I did want to talk about was I was looking at stuff like usually we think about like omomori and ofuda and stuff like that. Um, Actually, recently, someone came to the shrine at Hiromai, and he said he came here just to worship. And it's been interesting because, like, there's been a lot of, like, random, not random, but, like, just tourist visitors that come here lately. And, like, they just come here to, like, pray or get a goshuin or things like that. I guess they just look on Google Map and they try to find like shrines in the area, and then they find like ours, and then they come to say hi. One of the most surprising group was like a group of like five German guys, and I was like, whoa! And a group of like there was also a group of like six or seven like Spanish young men, and I don't know, it was just it's really interesting. A whole bunch of groups. But recently, like a younger man came in, and he came here to worship, and I thought he was going to ask for a goshuin because most people who come here as tourists or just visitors usually ask for goshuin. But actually, he asked for omomori. And as you guys know, Konko Faith, we don't have omomori or ofuda because we don't need them because Tenchikan no Kami-sama is like everywhere. So there's no need to like call for Kami-sama's energy to a specific place or like connect them to a specific location like the jinja because they're everywhere. And also, Tenchikan no Kami-sama taught like they don't want people to have to feel pressure to pay money for blessings. And the nuance of that means like back in the day, especially in Konko Daiji Sama's time, in order to receive ofuda omori similar to now, you had to donate money in return, like a sort of hatsuhoryo, the first fruits fee. And if I remember correctly, back then it was very expensive. Not like now. Now it's like 10,000 yen or something. It's like $10, $7, like €6. Um, so it's not so bad now, but back then it was a little bit more expensive, a little bit more difficult to afford. Especially there was a lot of poverty back then. So in particular, Tenchikan no Kami-sama said, like, I don't want people to feel like they have to give money in exchange for blessings. I just want them to come here freely. So please don't like, you know, I don't need omomori for that. Like basically, I'm paraphrasing, I'm summarizing, but like basically that's kind of the Konko Faith teaching. Anyway, long story short, we don't have ofuda omomori. So I was like, Oh, I was about to tell him like, I'm sorry, we don't have any here. But then actually I remembered. So, Benita, for the Roshako, we ordered some Tenjika Kitsukes in like a kifuda, like a little strap reminder form. And of course, I'm going to send the stock to the Roshako. But Redeem-san allowed us to keep some stock here for our worshippers. And thank you so much for allowing us to keep them. And so, like we save some aside for like the people who do a goyo for grand ceremony, which is not many people, just like 3 or 4 people, depending on who comes. It's not too many. And I got one, and Masafumi says I got one. But this person asked like, "Do you have anything like that?" So I was gonna say no, but then like it came to me like, "Oh wait, we have the Tejika Kitsuke." So I asked him, I said, "This is not an omomori, but this is a teaching of our faith of this place." And I showed him the big Tejika Kitsuke here. And I said, like, this is a teaching from our kami-sama. And I explained to him the whole Tenjika Kitsuke, like how it's about praying in this very moment, in this very time, and how to always pray to Kami-sama, to communicate to Kami-sama, no matter where you are and no matter what you're doing, and to pray with a sincere and joyful heart. And I explained more deeper, but yes, and thank you, Alexa. Yes. And he was like so touched. He was so moved. He was like, "Oh, this is beautiful," and he was so like his eyes were sparkling. He was so excited. And he's like, "Actually, is it okay if I have some from my family too?" And I said, "Oh yeah, that's fine. Like, of course." But I was moved because like he felt like it was such a good teaching, and he wanted to share with his family. So I was like, "Oh." And so he took one for himself, and I think he took 3 more. And then he asked me like, "How much is it?" And remembering like Kami-sama's teachings, I was like, like however you feel is appropriate. And he gave actually so much. And I was like, "Oh no, I can't take this." But he was like, "No, no, please take it." And we were like going back and forth. But I'm gonna save the money he donated for the next restock or like recreation of more. I think it would be nice to have more to spread the Tenjika Kitsuke. And I gave him also like a little Konko Kyo like intro pamphlet. So I don't know where it will go, but I think it's nice that he now will share the teaching and the divine reminder, the Tenjika Kitsuke, with his family, and have one with him to remember. And in the pamphlet I gave him, it explains like the Tenjika Kitsuke again in case he forgets. So it was really sweet, and it was so nice. And thank you, Vinimsan, for allowing this like opportunity to happen with the Tejika Kitskes, and it was a really good idea. So I was really glad. But it relates to the whole like we don't have Omowori Fuda, and like how we have the Tenjika Kitsuke and we have like Goshimai, but these are not like to call Kami-sama to us. It's like a reminder that Kami-sama is always with us. So Goshinmai too is like a reminder of all of Tenchika no Kami-sama's blessings of nature. And the Tenchika Kitsuke reminds us to always communicate to Kami-sama and always try to have like a peaceful, joyful, sincere, single heart. Like how to approach life, how to communicate with Kami-sama, the meaning of Toritsugi. And I don't know if that person will ever really like, maybe they'll come back, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll become Konko, maybe they won't. But I like to feel like Kami-sama brought this person here, and he specifically asked for Omamori, which no one ever does. And it was like right after I had, like, not right after, but like very soon after I had prepared the Tenchika Kitsuke Kifuda. So I was like, oh my gosh, like maybe something will happen down the line. I don't know, but it's very interesting. Or like even what one of his family members is like, oh, this is so beautiful, and then I don't know how it's gonna work. That's like en musubi, but it's very interesting. I hope he finds us. Like I hope he comes back, or like even if it's years later. But I hope like maybe it's a good like go on. Like kamisamas and musubi. But it was really cool. It was a nice experience. I guess Vidame-san says, I wonder if that man will become more interested in Konko Kill. Maybe he'll find our server or something like that. Yes, I hope so. I hope he will. You know, it was too bad he couldn't stay longer. He had to go, but like he was very moved by like at first because he was first he was like so shocked he could even enter the worship hall because he's like, is it okay if I come inside? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Like just take off your shoes and he was like in awe of like everything and he was like very respectful. So it was nice. It was a good experience. But yeah, just thinking about that, like I started to think about like at first I wanted to share the story because it was so nice, and maybe hopefully he might watch this. I don't know if he does, but it'll be interesting. But also like how like I was starting to think after that like why or like where does like omamori and ofuda come from? Because in fact like these things, these jyohin, like they're actually not like originally like Shinto, I guess you could say. Like they're not originally from like the indigenous practices of Japan. Because if you think about it, Japan didn't have writing for a long time until like the Asuka era, when writing like kanji and stuff came over from China. So, as you can imagine, like Ofuda is like, of course, it's like the kanji written and like the paper and everything. And omamori is basically the same concept, just it's like a mini version and then in a embroidered bag. So both of these things, I believe it actually came from Taoism. I want to say, but at the very least, they came from China. I don't know if they came from Taoism. They came from Buddhism. I'm not sure. But basically, like there wasn't any like omamori or ofuda like way like in ancient times, like ancient practices of Shinto and worship of kami-sama. Um, so that's kind of like an import from I think Taoism or I feel it's Taoism because they have the tradition of like the talismans, like the fu. So like the way that you write down specific like words and the arrangement how you put it is like I'm not educated about it, so I'm just kind of like speaking as a layperson. But I know that that Taoism has that tradition. So I think it came from there. I'm pretty sure. Like I'm like 80% sure. Um, and then eventually like it came over more into all the other shrines. So I thought that was pretty interesting because, especially in relation to Konko Faith, because like our kami-sama, Konjin-sama, comes from like Taoism and like the belief of like the days and the directions too. So it's kind of interesting to think like how much influence there was from like almost like things we imagine as like completely like Shinto, I guess you could say. Like they're actually coming from like an older source, but then they become like it takes on the identity within the way of the kami. So I was like thinking like kind of something similar happened like with not only with Konjin sama but like with many other kami samas like even Toshigami sama, like the New Year's kami sama, that also is from Onmyodo, like Taoism influence. Well, Onmyodo is like its own thing, but it comes from Taoism from Japan to like a mix of everything. But so it's very interesting, like how these traditions kind of mixed up, not mixed up, but like how they became into the land and the culture and the people, and how they were like adapted to the native faith, and like how they were brought towards the native faith. And like I said a few streams ago, like it's not that they were all mixed up, but that they were like intersecting with each other. So like this tradition crossed with Buddhism, and then Buddhism crossed with like the way of the kami, and then the way of the kami crossed with Taoism, and then it became Onmyodo, and then Onmyodo crossed this way, and then Shugendo became a thing, like became a tradition, and that crossed with like Buddhism again. So it's like it's kind of all like interwoven, like a big like interwoven, um, interconnected. They're distinct practices, but they're like interconnected with each other too. And I'm talking about before Meiji, before like the artificial, more like strict definitions. But even then, like it's interesting because the Meiji government didn't remove like ofuda, omamori, or like excuse me, for example, yakuyoke, like the unlucky year. That's also from Onyodo. So it's very interesting, like how that all happened. Alex says, from my awareness, they originate from Chinese folk religion. Then the Fu entered Taoism and Buddhism, then moved along through Silla and into Japan. Oh, thank you, Alex. Thank you. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, because I knew that it came from somewhere. Because of course Japan didn't have writing or kanji or anything like that. So I knew that like at some point it came over from somewhere. So thank you for explaining. Thank you. But yeah, it's interesting how like that did happen. And so it's like, and then I thought like it's interesting because like Ofuga Omomori and like there's a lot of influence from like Taoism and then like on mainland China and then Korea and like all these cultural and religious influence came to Japan and like that includes Konjin sama and Konko Faith. Like it's interesting to think because Konko Faith wouldn't have really wouldn't or so technically it wouldn't have come about if Kongo Daiji sama didn't know about Konjin sama and Konjin sama's traditions came from like all these influences, right? Like from this like more global, not global, but you know what I mean, like inter multicultural. I don't know how to explain. Like not just in Japan, but like from communication with China and with the ancient Korean kingdoms and like so that's what I'm trying to say. But if that didn't happen, then like would Konko Daiji sama ever know Konjin sama? Would Konko Faith ever exist? I don't know. So that is something interesting that I think about a lot, like how Kami-sama, how Konjin-sama kind of came about from like all these other influences, and not just like in Japan, but like all over. But also the fact that it's interesting because now in Konko Faith, um, like Tenchika no Kami-sama, like doesn't need Ofuda Omamori. So it's kind of like it's like a full circle. It's like everything. It's like everything. I don't know how to explain this. Like Kami-sama, like Konjin-sama was like connected from like the different cultures, and like the introduction of like the days and the directions from Taoism, and the introduction of like the lucky years and unlucky years, and the introduction of writing to Japan. All this. Even if Japan didn't have writing, we would have no. We would, I guess we would have oral tradition for the teachers, but still. Anyway, it's like all this stuff came like as like like source and ish, like I don't know what to say, but I think you guys know what I mean. Like it comes from somewhere, right? But then like with Tenchika no Kami-sama, we don't use Ofuda no Mori, so it's like they kind of go back, like they kind of go back to the original kind of practices in Japan, but then also like in other parts of the world because other parts of the world don't have Ofuda no Mori. So it's like Kami-sama is like encompassing everything, like from not just from Japan, but from like other countries and other parts of the world, but then to Japan. But then while in Japan, it's like going back to like the roots, but also from like different traditions because because like the Ofuda Omamori is like a very specific cultural thing now, but it was like an international thing in the past. So it was like like my mind just like it's just like it's very fascinating to me and like exciting and like interesting how like all these kind of things came together and like how it was in the past to like how it was now in the present. And I don't know, all of that like really is just like moving to, so, like about kamisama and like how kamisama flows through time and flows through culture and flows through land. Like they're kind of just like so broad like that. So it's very fascinating and um, inspiring and like I don't know how to explain it. Like moving, awe inspiring, and moving. Like all these feelings that are too complicated to put into words eloquently, especially not on a live stream. Maybe if I prepared a script or something, or I prepared my thoughts in writing, I could explain this better. But now I'm just like talking about it from my like thoughts of how this all came together from the last few days. But yeah, so I think you guys know what I mean though, like what I'm trying to say. Um, so Vidim-san says, I find it kind of funny that there's this whole Ko-Shinto, original old Shinto thing, and they try to get rid of foreign influence and don't even have Jinja, but still have Ofuda. Yes, yes. I noticed that too. Like, yeah, like technically, Koshito should not have like Ofuda or Omamori because yeah, like the Jomon people and the Yayoi people, they didn't write kanji and they didn't actually even speak Japanese. They spoke like their own language, like the Yayoi language, the Jomon language, and we don't really know like what what traditions they did. And even if we go back to the earliest point, like the Kofun era, which is probably like the earliest point of like the way of the kami and like Japanese people and Japanese culture and Japanese language. Even then, we don't know like exactly what they were doing because they didn't write anything down, and we only have the archaeological evidence. And even from the archaeological evidence we have, we know that a lot of those old traditions, like for example, like the Kofun themselves, like burials, burials don't happen anymore in Japan. It's all cremation, even in like Shinto and like Kobo Shinto. So like usually it's a burial, a cremation. Sorry, and like yeah, there was no fuda, there was no omamori. The only thing we do know is we have to reverse engineer. So like basically everything in like Shinto per se, everything that we can't connect to like an ancient, like somewhere ancient, if in ancient China or in ancient Korea, in the ancient Korean kingdoms, we can like reverse engineer to understand like that was probably like an old practice that originated from either the Jomon or the Yayoi people, and we don't really know like who invented what. But it's like trying to piece together. So, for example, like himorogi, right? Like the himorogi temporary altar. Um, it wasn't a shrine building appearance. It was just the sakaki tree. And actually, I don't think we don't know if they actually did like shide even, like the shide paper. We don't know if that was even a thing back then. But we do know like mirrors, swords, and the magatama for sure because that was in the Kofun burial mound and the sakaki. So probably they put like a mirror on the sakaki tree for the altar, but like that's it. Like they didn't have. I don't think they had like shide or like any kind of paper things like that. I'm pretty sure they did use like asahimo, like hemp fiber. Like hemp fiber was from back then, like from the Yayoi era. That was very important. And silk, like you know how like the silk is on the sakaki trees. Like even in Konko, we have like during the taisai, we have those like colored silk on the sakaki. That's like from very ancient times as well, because we were offering the silk to Kami-sama to give thanks for the material of the clothes. So it was like an offering in that sense as well. And but I think that that's pretty much. I think that's pretty much all we really know because yeah, basically everything else we can pretty much see in other parts of like Asia. So like even the bells that Miko-san used, that was like in ancient Korea as well. Um, and also we don't really and sorry, Shimenawa, like the rope with the we know with the paper with the zigzag papers. That was also there's similar found in ancient Korea. In the ancient Korean kingdoms, there's also magatama, it's not that it came from Korea. People think that it came from the Jomon people or the Yayoi people, but probably the Jomon, and then it traded to ancient Korea, and then it traded back. So they kind of that was something from Japan to Korea, not like from Korea to Japan. But they had that like cultural exchange. So like in ancient Korea, you'll see they have Nagatama as well. But probably it came from the Jomon people. But anyway, it was like very connected back then, and like back then, like the way of the kami was really simple. Like it was very, very simple, just like sakaki tree, the mirror, maybe the sword and the jewel, but always the mirror and the sakaki. And like that was pretty much it. Like that was like a temporary altar to call the kami-sama, and then after the ceremony, kami-sama just returned to nature, and then people lived in the village. So like that's all it was. There was no omomori fuda. There was no really shimenawa. No oharai really either. There was probably misogi, like clearing in the river. But it wasn't as ritualized as back then. Um, and yeah, and we know that there was a belief in like ancestral kami and like an afterlife because of the kofun. Like they were very like elaborate. So like from the Haniwa, we know that like they believed like kind of like ancient Egypt. If you had like figurines or things with you in your grave, you would like take it to the unseen world. So there was like a belief in like ancestral, unseen, like afterlife, underworld kind of thing. Um, but that's pretty much all we know. And yeah, if there was like a genuine, or no, sorry, I shouldn't say that, but there was like if we could go back in time and like time travel back to Jomon, Yayoi, Kofun era, probably the most we would see of like quote unquote Shinto would be like we live in our like little like rice farming village together, and before the planting season, the priestess or the priest, usually a priestess though, of the village, she would hold a ceremony with the sakaki tree and the mirror, and she would pray for the good harvest, probably with the sakaki branch, and she would ask the kami-sama for a good harvest, a good planting, sorry. And then that would be pretty much it, unless some crisis happened or like someone got sick or like there was a drought or something bad happened. Otherwise, just giving thanks daily, and then at the harvest time, then they would pray and give thanks for the good harvest with the same like temporary altar, and and then that was it. So it was very simple. It was very simple, and of course they would give offerings from like different parts of the village, and like fish and like rice. Of course, they would offer the rice to give thanks, and the silk, as I mentioned, and hemp fibers. But it was like temporary. There was no permanent jinja or anything like that. Then eventually they started to try to like have like kami-sama in the village with them, and then that's why the jinja, like the shrines, their architecture, like the oldest style that we see at like Ise Jingu, that was actually just like a rice storehouse. Like it wasn't anything like it wasn't like a special building made just for kami-sama. It was like kami-sama's in the rice because they help us survive and like live our lives. So like the concept of kami-sama or divinity or blessings in the rice kind of translated to like let's have the worship place look like the rice storehouse, or maybe it was the rice storehouse and then they changed it and then they rebuilt a shrine to look like the rice storehouse. But basically, that's what it like was based off, like almost one to one, because only the rice storehouses had like they were like on pillars, like raised pillars, and that was because like rats, like rats would try to come up into the rice, but the pillar would stop the rat from coming in, because of the way the architecture was. So yeah, like if you ever see like shrines, they have like they're on these like pillars, like really like the old architecture, like Issei Jingu and stuff, and even some modern shrines, but they have these they're like on pillars, and that's because of they're based off the rice storehouse. So it was very simple back then. It was very very simple, just like living with kami-sama day to day life. So that's why it's kind of interesting because like it's almost like Konko Faith kind of goes like full circle because like kami-sama just like is everywhere, and they don't need like a permanent shrine or like anything like ofudara one morning and things like that. And it's just about giving thanks and like living with kami-sama day to day. So it was really interesting. But like all the other, yeah, all the other things about like we consider Shinto, they all come like much later on. And like even the tori, we talked about it in the server, but like the tori, that was just like the village gate. Like it was not like for a shrine. It was not to mark like sacred or non-sacred. It was just to mark like the village boundary. And like when people saw the people would put like birds on the gate because they would see birds like perch on the gate. And it was kind of like emblematic because the villagers would live like in a open plains for the rice fields. And of course they want to clear out the forest so no animals would come or no bugs would come. They could have the village. But that means that they were split from the forest, like from wilderness. So the idea was that Kami-sama is in the wilderness and the people are in the village, and then the birds go between the forest and the village. So it's like the birds are messengers of Kami-sama from the forest to the village. So that's why the gate of the village was where the birds would be going between, and it's like showing the boundary. And that's also kind of similar to the okekai. It's like the boundary between kami-sama and the people. So that's kind of the original meaning. It never meant like it never originally meant like a sacred place. It was just like the village gate, and then the sacred place was the forest. So, but the villagers just had to mark like, oh, this is our village. It's not like another village. So that was kind of the meaning. But yeah, like a lot of things, like in like Shinto and the way of the kami, it was very like originally it was very just like very simple. And then I think as time went on, and more of the original people passed away, and more clans developed, more civilization developed, then like more the royalty, like the An era, like the palaces were getting built, and like the big city villages and things like that. So the more it grew, the more complex like these rituals became. And like as we know, like the ancestral coming some of the clans and stuff, and like that's why the rituals now kind of reflect the An era period of like showing respect to royalty, because it kind of evolved with the civilization. But then it kind of stopped there. I'm not sure, but like basically everything on the altar here, like this, like sudare, like the bamboo curtains, and the sanbo and the hasoku, and even the candles, like all of that is just furniture from an era palace. It's not like specifically like kami-sama or like religious furniture. Does that make sense? So like in a Catholic church, you'll see like religious specific furniture, I guess you could say. Like there's specific like alcoves, there's like specific like I don't know, like everything in the church is made for the church. But everything here is not made for like a shrine, really. It was made for like an palace. So like you would find all of these same items in a nobleman's or woman's, a princess's palace. Um, that's why like if you see like Hinamatsuri and stuff like that, like a lot of the like imagery is the same furniture you see here, because it's like literally the exact same thing. I guess the equivalent would be like, you know how I think we're all familiar with like castles, like you know, like European castles, or like, you know, like rich lords castles, and like the furniture is very like elaborate, and like, you know, it has like the florets, and it's like real wood, and you know, there's like a big fancy chandelier, and there's like floral wallpaper, you know, that kind of aesthetic or feeling. um Imagine that kind of feeling when you're in a castle, and then imagine that like, I don't know, I guess like a temple or like a church or something has all the exact same setup as the European castle, but it's in a worship place. So like, does that make sense? So then now in the worship place, it's like you're going to a castle, or like a nobleman's house or a noblewoman's house, like a Victorian mansion, a European castle, but the master of this place is invisible. Like you just don't see them because they're kamisama, because they're a deity. So that is like kind of this exact same nuance. Like, so I don't know if I explained that well, but that's basically the same here. Like this furniture is not specific for like kamisama. It's just like literally just like rich people, no, not rich people, I don't know, royalty's furniture, but for kamisama. So that's kind of the nuance. It's like, it's that's why some shrines are literally called palace, like Miya or Gu. Like the kanji is literally the same as palace, because it's like supposed to be the same meaning as that. So I don't know, I guess it. But sorry, let me read the comments. I just noticed them. Okay. Okay, so Alex San says Taoist temples in China and Taiwan still provide Ofuda-like talisman for worship. The Temple of Mysteries in I'm gonna pronounce this wrong. And Suzhou does, but they also combine the incense used from Buddhism too. Oh, wow! Thank you so much for explaining. The early cultures in Taiwan who migrated to Japan did continue to Taiwan until the modern day, so it might be interesting to compare those traditions to see those links. Ah, yes, yes, definitely. I think I remember reading that like a lot of the Ryukyuan, like Okinawa religion and culture, has a lot in common with Taiwan. But I'm not sure about like mainland Japan. But I definitely want to do more research on that for sure. Um, I thought I was going to say something. Oh, sorry. And in relation to your comment, here in Yokohama, we have like a big, huge Chinatown. I think you've been. But there's like there's two Taoist temples I really like to go to, and they actually have like the same like Ofuda and Omamori. And I remember them explaining, they're like, this is not Shinto. This is like originally ours. This is like originally ours, our tradition. Like this is our Omamori, and this is our Ofuda. I'm like, I was like, yes. I didn't say anything, just she wanted to explain to me the priestess there, and she was like very like passionate about it. So that's why I remember like why I wanted to talk about it. I was like, yes, like I'm sorry. But she was so nice. Like she, you know how it is. Like she's just very like, she was very extroverted, but it was nice. But yeah, so I love going to the temples there too, and like praying too. And they do the incense at those temples as well. You have to like go to, first you have to purify yourself with the incense, and then you have to go to each deity in the temple with the incense for like each of them. But it's really amazing. I don't know the traditions. I'm just like a layperson guest, but I love to go and pay my respects. So it's nice. um. So oh, Sorry, there's more comments. So Alex says it often worked. Oh, and thank you, Michael. Yes, it's super interesting. And Alex says it often worked in reverse. Architecture was developed for churches, and then found its way into the castles and such. Oh, thank you for explaining. Also, then like yeah, it's like reverse then. So our wait, yeah, it is reverse. Yeah, because like the church architecture and furniture ended up in the castles, but here in Japan it was like the castle architecture and furniture. Well, not architecture depending on the shrine, but the furniture for sure ended up in the shrines. So it's interesting like that. Yeah, and if you're asking like what furniture did they use before the An era and like that kind of this kind of like aesthetic and like craftsmanship, as far as I know, like by the Asuka period and like before, it was pretty much like it was pretty much very simplistic. Like you actually see it at Ise Jingu, but it was like these little like I don't have the notebook here, but it was like these little clay stands. They look. I'm doing this because they look like this. They were like clay plates, like brown clay plates, and like just a simple table, and they would put the offerings on these clay plates. We still kind of use them actually, like the kawarake on the sambo, but before like the sambo kind of came into like Shinto worship traditions from the Heian palace, it was just like on a clay plate, and it was very simple. Um, I'm trying to remember. I can't remember the name, but those clay plates came from the Yayoi era. Like we have archaeology of like, they dug up the sites and there's so many of these like little clay plates and like they actually have holes in them that look like sambo. So maybe like they adapted it with the new technology for woodworking, or new knowledge with woodworking. I'm not sure. But it's very fascinating to see like the evolution. But before that, it was very simple. Like just clay or earthenware for offerings, and then usually like a temporary altar inside of like a rice storehouse kind of building. But even in the rice storehouse, it was like a temporary altar. It was like the sakaki tree with the mirror, and they did the ritual in there, and then they would take down the altar. Like it wasn't like this with the doors and the hasoku and things like that. So at least that's as far as we know, like from archaeology and stuff. So yeah, I think Alex also says the Ryukyu kingdom had good relations with Taiwan, so it definitely makes sense. I believe the Yayoi traveled up from the Shanghai Jiangsu area through Taiwan and Ryukyu. Ah yes, sorry, I'm pronouncing so bad. I'm sorry. I need to learn it more. But yes, actually, the first knowledge we have of where like a first Yayoi settlement we know of was around like modern day Shanghai. But like we know that their culture was different. Like they weren't like part of the Chinese culture. Just they were kind of having their own little like settlement there before like moving on to leave. We don't know why they left, but probably like pressure from other like ethnic groups and other villages and places. They're probably feeling pressure, so they try to go over and leave. But we don't actually know, and I don't actually know. It's just what I know from research. But probably we don't know where the Yayoi people came from. Like they were East Asian, like and genetically, but we don't know like where like or they originated from, like or who they came, like what culture they came from. But they probably branched off from the old culture very early because compared to like ancient China at the time, they were very like I said in the old stream, but they were very like they were still like kind of living like many years ago type of culture and civilization. So like China at the time they had like the very colorful like silk robes, farming with livestock and iron tools and like the big huge like palaces. I'm pretty sure like the Forbidden City was already there and stuff. but the Yayoi people were having just like white cotton clothes. Silk was very difficult, but if it did exist, it was like white. They just farmed rice, usually like with their hands and like with very like, I think they had very simple tools, but it wasn't like very like advanced tools. And they didn't use, I don't think they used livestock as much until later in Japan, but not in Shanghai. Um, and yeah, their buildings were like wood with like the thatched roof from like the rice straw. So it was very like it was very like, like very like living from the earth, not like super like, building up civilization, like, you know what I mean, like a big huge palace or anything like that. And they also we also know that they didn't have writing or anything, so they had oral tradition. So it's interesting like that. It would be kind of similar to like Japanese people and like um I don't know. No, it's kind of like I was gonna say it's kind of like similar to like how Japanese people are now, and then like how some people are like, no, I don't think that's not the same comparison. It's hard to explain, but anyway, I think you guys know what I mean. Like they were just like very different from the culture that of the land that they were living on. So we don't know where they came from, but hopefully we find out someday. But yeah, but they were like East Asian. It's not like conspiracy theory. Like they were like secretly like European or something. I've seen that theory, like that Yayoi people were like secretly like what is it, like Proto Indo European, like they like I've heard this theory sometimes, like they think that they came from the same like lineage of like the Aryans or something. And I was like, that's kind of, this feels weird. This feels weird. I think no, like they were like genetically, we know that they were like East Asian, but like their culture was different. So yeah, but there's a lot of weird theories out there. There's a lot of weird theories out there. I don't want to get into it because it's like low key, like it's like low key racist. I don't want to get into it, but yeah, it's weird. But so I don't want to like sound like those people. I'm just trying to say like the history. But it's fascinating. I'm really interested to learn more about Yayoi people and the Jomon people too. So Michael says, do Taoist practitioners use their not food in the same way? And Alexan says, some Taoists use their food for worship. They often have a kamidana like home shrine too. However, for home prayers, many use statues in such structures. Some Taoists don't though. And Michael thinks, ah, yes, that's right though. So yeah, I've seen like very similar to like Ofuda style is done. But usually like I've seen statues too, and I don't know if statues came from Buddhism or like what happened there too, because if I remember correctly, like if I'm remembering correctly, and I don't know if I am, but like Buddhism way back had like scrolls, like illustrations for worship. And then when Buddhism went to Greece, I think it was from Greece that they started using statues. I heard like from Greco Buddhism. And then from there, like the Buddhist statues would go to like elsewhere, like in China and ancient Korea, from that influence. That's what I heard. I could be wrong though. It could have something else happened, but I remember hearing that, and I remember it making sense to me because a lot of the kind of like ancient statues are very similar to like the way like ancient Greek statues were kind of like constructed and made. So I was like, oh no, that makes sense. Like that kind of makes sense because like the Neo, like the Buddhist Neo, like they're like doing this and they look really angry. That actually came from like I heard that came from like Hercules, like Heracles, like because he was seen as like a protector of the Buddha. So then like the image of like Buddha and then Heracles protecting the Buddha like traveled around Asia, and then they were like, oh, that's like the Neo. Like they completely made like a new character for Heracles, and then there was two of them now. So it's always interesting to see that like cultural exchange. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, like so much cultural exchange and like different ideas being passed around, especially to like the Silk Road and stuff. So it's very interesting to see. Actually, one of my favorite stories about that is that like Fujin-sama, like the wind kami-sama, like the oni with the wind bag, that's literally like Zephyrus, like the Greek wind god with the wind bag. And I thought that was pretty interesting, especially because like I'm like part Greek and stuff, so I'm like, oh, like there was culture exchange even back then. You know, that's why I have this like crazy conspiracy theory that like maybe some of the stories or like mythologies about the kami-sama also got influenced because I think we talked about this many times before. But something I like to say is that like, for example, in the story of Izanagi Okami-sama and Izanami Okami-sama, um, she at some point she says like, I can't go back to the world. I can't go back to Earth with you because I ate food in the underworld. And the king of the underworld says, I can't leave if I ate the food here. And it's like, pause, wait, because in Shinto traditions now, there's no like king of the underworld. There's no rule about like eating food from the underworld. And like Izanami Okami-sama is basically like she can go anywhere she wants. Like like her realm is like Yomi, like her place where she dwells is Yomi, but she's like everywhere else too. She's like in her shrines and she's in the heavens and she's like a creator, but she's also related to death. But she has no like restriction like that in like oral tradition and like shrine tradition. So like and then the story, as we all know, it sounds very like influenced by like Orpheus and Eurydice. So like sometimes I like to think like maybe somewhere along the line with like Greco Buddhism, because the myths weren't written down, like the Kojiki and the Nihon Shoki, they weren't written down till like 712 like BCE. Is that right? Sorry, is that right? Well, like 80 basically, like 712 80. So that was like 200 years after Buddhism came to Japan, which also means like 200 years after like and more of like Greco Buddhism also in Japan. So I don't know. Maybe something happened. Maybe some like broken telephone happened, and maybe there was like an influence somewhere. Someone really just like the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice and wanted to like apply it to Izanagi Okami-sama. I don't know. Or they like that one part and they're like, that's beautiful, and we gotta have that too. And like I don't know, but it's interesting to me. I think something happened probably because otherwise, like, why would there be like these elements in the story that don't exist in the living tradition? So it was, it was interesting to me to see that. Um, and like the other things too, like I don't know, there's a lot of like interesting cultural like influences. For example, even like Yamata no Orochi, there's like a lot of similarities with like the Hydra in Greek mythology. And like I don't know if that's a coincidence or that was another like situation of like cross wires, or like maybe actually like maybe they're the same species that actually existed. I don't know. But no, I'm joking about that one. But it's very interesting to see like the similarities. At least for sure, I think something happened with the myth, like the written down myth, because there's elements in that that don't apply to the modern traditions and beliefs. Not modern traditions, but like the traditions in the shrines now that have been carried over from many, many years, like oral traditions, like the Fudoki as well, like local mythologies of the Kami-sama that weren't like they were collected from people over many years. Whereas like Kojiki and Nihon Shoki were like someone sat down and was like, okay, we got to write the myths and we got to write the history, and they were like, let's go, and then that was more like a structured thing. So it's interesting. Sorry, let's see here. Oh, okay. Alexa says, I think the research I've seen suggests that idols came from the pre-Han Chinese world. Oh, I see. When the area had its first settled agriculture. The Hellenic origin for these statues came from Alexander the Great's conquest and founding of cities like Bactria and Alexandria, the furthest which were cities near and in Iran and modern-day Pakistan. Alexandria Escat is the name of the city. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, see, oh my gosh, thank you. So even then, like even before Greco-Buddhism, there was like the whole connection even before that. So like it went way back. So I think because then it's crazy because the Sogdians like from Persia, they came to China and Korea like after as well. So then like I think like the whole region was just always like from what you explained, like they probably just always like were connected since like Alexander the Great's time. Like I don't know. I have to like sit down with it and like get a timeline in my head. But from the sounds of it, it sounds like they were always like connecting and they had a lot of interaction with each other. And that's fascinating to me and it's really exciting to think about. But thank you for explaining. I didn't know that. I didn't know it went that back that far. So that's really fascinating. And like I want to read more. I should read more, but like I need time to read more. But it's very interesting. Thank you. Um. Oh, sorry. Like son also says, the idea of fleeing from the world of dead sounds so intriguing. It can be a story that eventually shows up in any culture. Ah, yes, yes, I agree with you. But like that's what's weird about it because like Shinto traditions don't have like we don't have like psychopomp kamisama like kamisama that take the souls of the dead to bring them to the underworld. And we don't really even have an underworld. Like we don't have like a place where the dead go. Because when people die, they just become kamisama. Like they just become mitama no kamisama. So like that's what's interesting about it. Like because there's technically no world of the dead in like Shinto tradition. So that's why like the story of Izanami o Kami-sama and Izanagi o Kami-sama, it almost sounds like a little bit foreign when you're like in like practicing the like the traditions here in the shrine. And it's not to say like this is like the original OG like etc. But like I mean even as I mentioned, like archaeologically speaking, there was more the idea that like ancestors and the dead would go back into the wilderness, like in the mountains. So they would be like living in the forests and the mountains, and and then during the harvest, during the spring and the autumn equinox, especially I think in the harvest time, they would come down from the mountain and then live with their with their relatives in the village, and then they would go back up to the mountain. But there's not really like a specific like there's not Hades, there's not like hell, there's not like hell is in Norse mythology. There's not like Dua like in Egyptian mythology. There's nothing really like that since ancient times. So I shouldn't say mythology. I mean like ancient Egyptian religion, ancient Norse religion. I don't like to say mythology because that sounds like it's only mythology, but it was like a religion anyway. But yeah, like there was nothing really like that. So that's why the story feels like off a little bit. It feels a little bit different. Um, because even in shrines to Izanami no Kami-sama, like none of them say anything about her like being stuck or like living in Yomi. They're like, yeah, Yomi is her realm, like where she purifies the dead, like the dead bodies, not like the spirits, like the dead bodies. And if a spirit, like if a no Kami-sama had like kegare or something bad, like she like it will sink into the earth and then she'll purify there. But it's not like a place like people stay forever. So that's what I mean. That's why it's different. It feels different. And yeah, like and that's also why like yeah, we don't have any like psychopomp like Hermes or I don't is there I'm trying to think of another one. another deity that takes the souls. But there's no Grim Reaper, you know. There's not really a Grim Reaper. In anime there is, but not like an actual like an actual tradition. So it's interesting to think about that. Sorry, but yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong. Like what I'm trying to say is like I agree with you. Like going to the world of the dead, coming back, it definitely shows up a lot, like a very common motive. I'm not saying that like you're wrong, but like I'm just saying what I'm trying to explain is that the concept of going to a place of the dead and coming back, that doesn't really exist here because there's no place of the dead. There's just like everything is within nature, within it's a Shio seen world and Kakuryu unseen world, but there's not really like a like underworld or anything. So that's why it feels that's what I mean by it feels interesting. Like it feels different. So that's all. But I don't know actually. Like, I don't actually know. I wasn't there. Um I don't know why it's like that, but it's interesting. Let's see. Sorry. But thank you. Um so Alexander says there were also early Turkic peoples in these areas too. Alexander was approximately 3 to 400 BC. So technically later than the Yayoi. Oh my god. See, I don't even know. My timelines are all like messed up. But also around the same time as Taoism's earliest text. During the Warring States, which would have been further north than the people who eventually moved to Taiwan and Japan. Oh, sorry. Oh, wait, let me reread that. I reread it wrong. I read it wrong. Um, but also around the same time as Taoism's earliest text, during the Warring States, which would have been further north than the people who eventually moved to Taiwan and Japan. Oh, thank you so much. Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you for explaining. I didn't like see. I need time to like sit down with this and like make a timeline in my head properly. But that's really interesting though. What if why did my mind go to what if Alexander the Great went to Japan? No, that could be an anime. I'm joking. That would be crazy. Oh my god. But no, I don't know. I don't actually like I don't know how it all interconnected and like how things came about. But it's like I need to find out. Like I need to actually understand. I need to put the pieces together because like Japanese academia doesn't go that deep into it. They're just like they just look at the archaeological evidence of like the Yayoi era, and then they look at the like historical timeline of the Greek influences of Buddhism and how that came to Japan. So the Japanese academic sources I've read, they kind of stop at a certain point, and then the only other time I've read something similar was when I was looking up about like Okayama's lore and like Ura and Kibitsuko no Mikoto-sama. And then from there was a paper about like Sogdians in Japan. So, but then it stopped there. It was like, oh, they might have come from the Korean Peninsula, and then it stopped, and then it was like, oh no. So like a lot of the Japanese academic sites, papers and things that I've read, they kind of like focus on only one part. But I need the time to like take all these papers and like connect them or like see how they connect to like other academic knowledge from like you know from the Silk Road to like the Mediterranean to like Iran, and then like go keep piecing it together to like through the Silk Road to China and ancient Korea and like see how it all went. So I need to sit down with everything. I only read like the Japanese side, unfortunately. Like I only have like because in my like work, like in researching about like the history of Japanese religious traditions and cultural traditions, um, I'm only researching on like the Japanese side, but I haven't actually had time to like go deeper. But I need to go deeper. This is fascinating, though. But thank you, Alex. It's really interesting. So Alex says you should look at the Taipei Uni papers. They're a little more filled out regarding migration patterns. Oh, thank you. I will check it out for sure. I need to like sit down with it. 'Cause apparently, like the rabbit hole goes way deeper than I thought. I didn't know it went this deep. We need to find the lost like knowledge. Did you know like they actually found Roman glass in the Kofun? So like they recently did an excavation of Kofun. Like Kofun is the burial mounds in Japan, and they found like Roman glass. Like like how did Roman glass get to Japan? Like we don't even know actually, because like the scholars were assuming that through the Sogdians, or like a Sogdian traded with like a nobleman in Korea, like in Silla or Baekje, and then they went down to Japan, and then they gifted it to the royals in Japan. That's the guess, but no one actually knows. So, but the fact of the matter is that it's there, so it's like we have to do more research into it. And this is very new. This is like I want to say it was 2023, 2024. Like it's only like 3 or 4 years ago that they found all of these artifacts. So it's very new knowledge. So I'm very interested to see where it goes. So it's interesting to see like the connections. And like I remember there was even some like there was even some theories like Vikings like like not like Norse Vikings, but like the Kievan Rus, like they were also like somehow in Japan, and I was like, what? It's like the Vikings are in Japan, like the Romans, the Sogdians, the Vikings, like the Kievan Rus. Like I don't even know at this point. There's so much history we don't know, unfortunately, but I would love to understand more. But I get excited thinking about it because I'm imagining this like crazy ancient world that no one thought about before. But it's very interesting. It's very interesting. Um, okay, sorry, I think I'm missing a comment. Wait. Okay, so Alex also says, Koku Gakuin's textbooks now include the fruit and looking upon Izanami no Mikoto found in modern interpretations. Oh, I'd love to read that too. Yeah. Oh, but the thing about like so like okay, let me rephrase this. So like the myth about Izanami Okami-sama and Izanagi Okami-sama, there's a lot of like sections to the myth. Like first it starts with the creation of the Japanese islands, and then the birthing of the Kami-sama, and then the birth of Kagutsuchi no Mikoto-sama, and then Izanami Okami-sama dies from the birth of him, and then Izanagi Okami-sama like kills Kagutsuchi no Mikoto, and it goes like there's like different like acts or like different parts of the myth. And the rest of the other parts, like they have a lot of symbolism um, in Japanese culture, and also like some influence from like Chinese culture as well, because like there's like peaches, and like the fruits have a lot of symbolism. But like that one part where she's like, I can't leave. The king of the underworld said, I can't leave. Like that is the one like weird part that like kind of sticks out. That part, and the part where like they become like separated, like they can never like Izanami Okami-sama is gonna stay in the underworld, and Izanagi Okami-sama is gonna stay like above. Like that part is also a little bit like different, but the rest of the mythology, like there's a lot of like symbolism and meaning from like all over like Asia, like the different cultures and the influences. So it's very interesting. There's something else I want to mention, but let me check the comments first. Um, Alex also says, I did. Cornish tin has found its way to China in the same period too. Yeah. What the heck? What was going on back then? There was a missing Roman legion that has been theorized to have ended up in China. So who knows? Always interesting. Oh my god. See, I don't even know. Like we we need to research this. We need to research this. Like where was everybody going back then? They were having adventures we can't even dream of. It's crazy. I want to find out. Like I want to find out where they were going, what they were doing. Um it makes sense. It honestly makes sense to me because like I know in modern days, like Like we barely leave our rooms, but back then they had more stamina to like travel long distances, and they knew how to like they people could go places without planes and cars and buses. So like I'm sure at some point someone found themselves somewhere. Like I don't know, a Viking found himself in Japan, a Roman soldier found himself in China. I don't know, a Cornish man found himself in China. Like now, but like 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 a Canadian found herself in Japan. I'm joking. But like you know what I mean. If we can do it now, I'm sure back then the way that they were traveling and like trading, I'm sure that they could have done something. We just like I don't know. We just can't fathom like how ancients did things sometimes. Like ancient aliens. Like you see like stuff about like how are the pyramids built? It had to have been aliens because we can't do that. It's like no, no, they actually did do it. It was humans. Trust me. I like I was there. No, I'm joking, but like I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of like people who think like oh like they're so like flabbergasted at like ancient people doing great achievements and feats and like you know progress of like technology and things like that. But in fact, it was like they actually could do all these things. So I don't know. I don't underestimate the ancients. I'm sure they like had more like knowledge and information. Um, so that's I'm sure there was something. But something I did want to mention was that like so there's this story. Oh, Michael says somehow someone was found somewhere. Sounds like the history of the entire world. I guess Chico. I guess true. Like I don't remember that video. It's funny, but it's true. Like I don't know. I don't know. I'm pretty like I swear. People are resilient. People can find themselves in situations, and we don't know. I think it's a little bit naive to think like they were just like dumb or they didn't know how to travel or like survive or anything like that. I think we misunderstand a lot in the modern age, how capable people in the ancient times were and how much knowledge they had. Like if you think about it, like they like I remember reading a little bit about like Polynesian people, and they could like sail like everywhere. Like they like pretty much they sailed to like so many islands, and they didn't have like motorboats. They didn't have GPS. They didn't have like they literally followed the wind, the stars, and they like went everywhere. So like I don't know. I think that the ancients knew a lot more than we know. Because if I didn't have GPS or like a motorboat, I would be like crying, like lost in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, like weak baby. um, but back then in the ancient times, they were just like going everywhere, like so. And that's through sailing. I think sailing's much scarier than walking on foot or like using a horse or something. I think like being in a boat in the middle of the ocean and like you don't have enough. I don't know how do you even get like you have to fish, but like my mind is blown how humanity has overcome so much and like how they've managed to adapt to so much. And yes, I like technology, but sometimes I have to mourn the loss of like amazing feats from back then because I'm like baby. I can't even get through Shinjuku Station without getting lost. Meanwhile, people back then were traveling across the world. Meanwhile, I mean, I'm getting lost in Shinjuku Station, like with a GPS, with information booths, with maps. Like it's ridiculous. So it's crazy. Oh my gosh, Alex says that's not even talking about the Inca and the jogging postal service. Oh my gosh, yes, like seeing like I wish I could live back then. Like I feel like people could do amazing things and like I don't know. I felt like the world felt more like adventurous back then. Maybe that's me romanticizing it. Maybe it wasn't that great. Maybe it was really, really hard, but maybe it's just me, modern human, craving for adventure and travel and something different. But but sure when it can't be helped. So yeah, no, that's true. Like since you can still practice those skills. No, that's true. That's true. But you know what I mean. Like we can still do those things, but you know, we have to like we're on like a schedule. We have to like do the lifestyle things. I guess we don't have to, but the way like society is kind of like all come together in the modern times with like the internet and earning money and like grocery stores and you can't just like farm stuff randomly. I think some countries like control the seeds too and like what you can plant and like I don't know, it's kind of a little bit messed up. So like says, and the people who actually did amazing things, those are one of millions. Most of them lived for 30 years on a farm and died of flu. Oh no. No, that's true too. Well, it depends on the era, but yeah, that was probably me in my past life. I just like I always joke to my friends. I'm like, in my past life, I probably just like got tuberculosis at like 15, and I died. Like, I was joking, but like statistically speaking, that's probably what happened. So like we have a joke with my friends, like we're like, okay, if past lives actually exist, or like why, like I don't know. I'm kind of like I know it's complicated, but just hear me out. So like if you talk about past lives, right? Like everyone says, like my past life was like a king or like a queen or like I was royalty or something or like I was a great warlord or like something very like intense and like unique and like magical. I don't know, but I'm always like I swear if I had a past life, I just like it was just that I was like a farmer girl. I got a cut and sepsis, and that was it. Like that was my life, probably. Like I'm like, why does no one have past life like that? Like, why does no one have the I died of sepsis past life? That sounds so mean. I'm sorry, but like it, like statistically speaking, I feel like that it's more common um than being the warlord or like the queen. I know a lot of people who say like their past life was like Oda Nobunaga for some reason. I was like, why Oda Nobunaga? But it's kind of funny, but I think it's kind of cute, but it's kind of funny too. Oh my god, I don't know. I don't. I mean, like I'm open to it. I'm open to it, but I think at the same time, like you know, I don't. I think that like majority of the time, like people just it's like like not everybody can be over Oda Nobunaga in the past life. Like I've seen like in Japan, like on the internet, I've probably seen like at least like 100 people say they were Oda Nobunaga in the past life, and I'm just like I don't know, like I don't know, I don't know. Maybe we're just a farmer, and that's okay. Like that's pretty cool too. Or maybe I was a bug. Maybe I was like a cicada. I don't know. Like it could be anything, right? So yeah, it's kind of funny. I'm not saying it's all like dumb. I'm just saying like like if we are going to talk about it, we should talk about it, um, understanding that a past life could be anything, and it's not always like, and it could be tragic, and it could be horrible, and it could be weird, it could be short, it could be long, but like past lives aren't always like famous figures like King Arthur or the Nobunaga, like the Queen of England, Queen Victoria, so I mean, yeah, sorry, but I just think we should kind of be more grounded about it. That's what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, Viddington says, I believe people back then were also like, we're going to country X, but then ended up in a random place and like, where are we? I guess it's exactly. That's why. That's why I feel like what happened to the Kievan Rus or like the Viking, like if they did happen to go to Japan, they're probably trying to go somewhere else. And then they just ended up there and they're like, whoa. Actually that's what happened. That's what happened to my favorite story, like Leif Erikson in Iceland. They were trying to go somewhere, I don't remember where, but then they ended up in Vinland, which was Canada. And it's crazy because like no one, like everyone thought that story was like fake, like it was like made up, like it was mythology. And there was no way that they could have ended up in Canada. Like there was no way the Vikings could have went to Canada. But the native people there, I don't remember the tribe name, I'm sorry, but they had an oral tradition from like way way long ago, and they said like they knew that like the Vikings were there in Canada and they knew where their village was. And they kept trying to tell like the scholars like they like no, like this is our tradition, like we know from our ancestors, they told us like over the years our oral tradition is that this happened here, that like foreigners came and then they had a settlement and they tried to live but they didn't and they went back. And no one believed them, which is horrible. But then finally, like later in like 2014 or something, like another scholar tried to like revisit it. And finally he listened and then they found like the actual settlement and the archaeological evidence that like Leif Erikson like actually existed. And like it's just like it's crazy, right? So like things people thought was mythology back then was actually real real history. So it's interesting to see that. But it's really interesting. Um, Mike says we're going to India. Said Christopher Columbus. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Mike says was once on a date with a girl who said that in her past life she was Leonardo da Vinci. Was weird. Like she called herself Leonardo da Vinci. That, that's kind of funny. I mean, that like I'm sorry, like the concept of Leonardo da Vinci is very interesting. Um, but I guess I hope she's doing okay. I don't know. Maybe she, I don't know. But I hope she's okay and she's doing good now. And yeah, it's very very interesting. Very interesting. Oh my gosh. Alex says Infinite Nobunaga. Yes, there's so many Nobunagas. I know so many of them. Mike says, why does nobody want to be Toyotomi Hideyoshi? That is a good question. I don't know. Everyone wants to be Nobunaga. I haven't even seen any other warlords who I think are also cool, but no. So people tend to say like they're either like Oda Nobunaga or what's her name? Oh my goodness, I can't remember now. Ono no Komachi, like she was like another like an ANR princess. Um but it's like so it's I don't know. I think it's kind of cute. Like it's kind of like kids, like wanting to be a character in a way, or like wanting to identify with like a great existence, but also it's like a little bit like I don't know. We should be more grounded about it. Alex says, I do love Hideyoshi. And Alex also says, oh yes, that native tribe had a story about a very angry, very pregnant woman from the Viking migration. Oh my gosh. Mike says, that's how Varangians, Swedish Vikings, were traveling, right? They saw a river and said, let's go to the stream. And they just went there. And boom, suddenly most of the Russia is in puppy. Oh my gosh. Wow. Oh, I didn't know about that. I actually didn't know about the Swedish, like that story. Wow. Or is that like related? Um, but that, like, it's so weird how this happens. Wait, now let's see. Because I think I've heard of this before, but I'm all scatterbrained. And I'm also like, realizing the time is going so fast. But I want to talk more because I'm so like my brain is like, ooh, like it's going so fast. Oh yes, yes, yes. Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, they're related to the. I think they're related to the Kibianers too. That's interesting. Um, there was a, so there was like a point in my life. The only reason I know about this is because like at one point in my life, around like I don't remember what year it was. I think it was like 2020, 2020 probably. But I got a package in the mail from an anonymous person, and the package had like a Kivian Rus like artifact, and I don't know what it is. It's like a tiny. It looks like a little mirror. And then there was like a certificate of like authenticity, and I was like, what? What is that? What? First of all, I didn't know what the Kivian Rus were. Second of all, I didn't know what I was holding. Third of all, I thought it was fake, but then it wasn't fake. And fourth of all, I don't know who sent it. But also the shrine address is public, so I don't know. Um, anyway, it was a big mystery. I still have it, but it's like in a very like I kept it very safe in like my room, and it's like up on the shelf, like in a box, like tucked away because I don't want to like disturb it. But that happened, so I tried to read more about the Kiwian news, but I don't actually like. There was very little information I could find, so this is very fascinating. I could tell you more. I guess so. Alex says the Varangians founded the Kiwian news and the Principality of the Muscovy, who then went on to be nomed by the Mongol. Oh my gosh! Thank you, Alex. See, you know more history than me. I need to sit down with it and read more. But that incident was so weird for me that I just like I think I read a little bit and I was like, this is like I don't know what this is connected to, and then I just like I just put it away, and then I I just kept it in my it's in my back pocket. I like to say I keep things in my back pocket. So when they come up again, I will have the back pocket info to connect it with the new info. But that's how I know a little bit about it because it was a very weird incident. Um, yeah, so I don't know, stuff like that happens sometimes for me, but maybe next stream I can show you the little thing, the little artifact, and it was wrapped in aluminum foil for some reason, but I don't want to take it out. But I looked it up and I think it was like a common. Sorry, I said that really fast. I looked it up and I think it was like a common object. Like it's not a rare object. Um, Actually, let me see if I can find it on Google now because I saw that there was like a lot of them and they weren't that expensive. So I think it was just like a common artifact, but uh, I don't actually know why it even like ended up here. So it's just like, and there was no like the sender was just like an eBay seller, and there was no like letter or anything. So it was as if like someone had bought it on eBay and then they just shipped it here, and then like I don't know, it's just here now. I don't know. I offered it to Kami-sama, and I was like, Kami-sama, I don't know why it's here, but please tell, like, please connect the dots someday, because I don't know. Oh my goodness, like she was in the previous place. I also hope she's doing okay. Oh yes, yes. I hope she's okay. Oh no, sorry, but like it's just weird. Like I just mean like, did she like imagine herself as like the actual Leonardo da Vinci, or like was it like someone based off Leonardo da Vinci? But I guess she thought of herself as the actual Leonardo da Vinci. So, but yeah, hopefully it was just a phase or like something. So hopefully she's okay now. I can't find what I was looking for, uh, but if I find it, I will. Okay, Alexa, send me an image of the artifact that feels familiar. Oh my gosh. Yes, yes, I'll try to send it. Vadim says that maybe Kami-sama was like, sell it and have some money on it. Maybe. But I felt scared to sell it because I'm like, what if I need this in the future? It's like a key item, like an RPG. Like in JRPGs, it's like you got a key item. I was like, you can't sell it. You're gonna miss the cutscene like later on in the game. I don't know. That's what I thought it was like. But it was so strange. Um, but yeah, I'll dig it out and I'll take a picture and I'll show you guys. It was so strange. Um, but yeah, So there was this like story I wanted to mention on the stream too, like in relation to this. So there's kind of this wait, let me wait, I'm also I'm like multitasking, I'm trying to find the thing, and there's a lot of like random, but there's no more mirror, there's no more round little mirror on eBay. It's just like little like spears and stuff. But it looks this rusted. Like I'll show you. I don't know if it's okay to link this. Oh, I can't even link it. Okay, just gonna copy the image. But it's extremely rusted. There's no way to like polish it, and even if there was, I would be scared to. I don't know if this link works. Maybe not. It's a WebMP. I don't know if that works. But it's like that level of like rusted and like like I guess like aged, I should say. Um, but it's very interesting. This situation. Sorry. So there's something else I wanted to tell. Um, okay. Yes, yes. Okay. So I'm also looking at. So I remember, I remember this academic paper before we end. I remember this. I wanted to say it like back when we were talking about the cultural connections. I remember this academic paper that said how like there was a mythology in Suataisha, and it wasn't like Mishibuji sama and Sua Daimyoji sama's fight, but it was like the story of, excuse me, similar to Yamata no Orochi, where there was like a big dragon, and then Takamina Minakata no Okan sama, he like slayed the dragon. And I remember that paper talked about how that was very similar to like the story of like Zahak, which was like a snake prince. Um, in oh my god, I'm like trying to remember now. And yeah, Zahak was like the personification of evil in Iranian mythology. And they like that paper was like saying how like that story might have come to Sua somehow. And now I'm trying to like I felt like I knew the myth, but now I'm like wait, I don't, maybe I don't like. And I know I didn't dream this because I remember there was like a whole web page about it, but it was like connecting like Iranian tradition to Suataisha, and now I'm trying to find that paper, but basically I'm okay. Maybe I'm just gonna say it. Maybe I'm like mixed up now. But let's see. Okay, so what I remember was that there was like there was like an evil kind of like dragon serpent in the Lake Sua. And again, this wasn't like Mishiguji-sama, like the, because Mishiguji-sama is associated with snakes, but they're more associated with the mountain. But this story was like Lake Sua had a dragon, like a dragon, kind of like Yamato no Orochi, and Takaminakata no Okami-sama kind of like slayed the dragon. Like they had a big battle, and like there was like elements of the story now that like sounded like the story of Zahak, and I wanted to find it because it was so interesting, but now I can't find anything about it, and I'm like, did I dream this? But I know I didn't. I know I didn't. But anyway, there was this like comparative paper comparing this story of Sua with like Yamata no Orochi and Susanoo no Mikoto sama. It was like that was it. It was like the storm god fighting dragon was like a proto-Indo-European thing. And so that's what they were comparing it to, because Japan also has the storm god fighting the dragon. thing, like mythology and stories. And it's in Yamato no Orochi fighting Susanoo no Mikoto-sama. Like he's a storm kami-sama fighting the dragon. Takaminakata no Okami-sama fighting the dragon of Lake Suwa, and then there's another one with Hakone, Ashinoko, the lake, and there was also a dragon, and then um, I want to say like a monk. I think at that point it was like a monk, and he like subdued the dragon with like the Vajra, which is like the thing of thunder, and that's actually like the old like from Buddhism, like it comes from that story comes from Buddhism, but like this kind of like similar pattern mythology that keeps appearing, um, like from the Proto-Indo-European kind of tradition that people saw it in Japan. So, like what the paper was trying to explain was that probably like it was kind of like my weirdness about like the one part in Izanami Okami-sama's and Izanagi Okami-sama's myth. But then this scholar noticed the like pattern of the storm god versus the dragon of the waters or something, or like an evil serpent prince, like kind of like Zahak in Iranian mythology, and how that kind of came into Japan. So there was kind of this like Proto-Indo-European influence maybe in Japan, but not that the Yayoi people or the Jomon people were Proto-Indo-European, but that mythology and that kind of um, how do I say it? That pattern, that mythological pattern from the Proto-Indo-European people, like kind of somehow ended up in Japan, and then it became part of its like mythology and like religion. So it was a very interesting paper, and I'm trying to find it, but I can't find it, and it's really frustrating. But I wanted to mention that as well when we were talking about all the other like cultural exchange kind of interesting, fascinating past world. I don't know how to explain it. And honestly, I think it just might be as simple as like Sogdians in Japan, because we know like 100% that they were in Korea. So I don't think they just came to Japan that okay hi bye and then they left. I don't think they just like they just went there to have a tea and then they went back home. I'm pretty sure they like exchanged ideas and exchanged stories, and I'm pretty sure there was culture exchanges, trades. Maybe some people even lived there. Maybe they're like, oh, I like Japan, I want to live here. Or at the time, it was not called Japan, but you know what I mean. So yeah, I don't know. That's what I think. Maybe it boils down to. Uh, I think that there was a lot of culture exchange. Not that the Yagoi people were like a lost tribe or something like that, but probably cultural exchange happened. That's my theory. Anyway, like it makes sense to me. Like it feels the most like grounded um, perspective in my opinion, because I feel like that makes sense. I don't know. So anyway, I should find that paper. I have to find that paper. It was really good. And we should talk about it at some point again. William-san says, sending random sending random anonymous packages to shrines sounds like a new type of TikTok prank. Yes. Oh my god. Hopefully it doesn't catch on. Like no trend, no trend. Knock on wood. I don't want more artifacts. Please. That also happened with the scroll, but that could have made more sense. Like there was some scrolls, like Japanese scrolls sent here, but that makes sense. Maybe they wanted it to be burned, um, but not like a Kibian Rus mirror from like, from I don't know. It doesn't fit. Like someone says, maybe someone found it, thought it's definitely a religion-related item, and just returned it to the first religious place they found. Maybe, maybe, but we're like a Konko Kyokai. I feel like I feel like they should have brought it to like a big jinjo, like maybe like a maybe unless they figured like maybe they figured like I would know or something. I don't know. I don't know. I wish I could know. I wish someone would just. I wish they just said like, "Hey, it's from me," and etc. That was just a big mistake. But it's interesting. I don't know, cause like I don't know. I feel like our kyokai or shrine is pretty like smaller. It's like family run. I know that I'm active online, but like it's not like Meiji Jingu. It's not like Fushiminari Taisha level. We're pretty like low key. So I don't know. It's like what the heck. Alex said maybe donate it to the Yokosuka Museum. Oh, maybe, but they may not want it because it's not Japanese. Like that museum here local, they usually have like local architecture they dug up, and but I could ask. It definitely deserves to be somewhere not in a box in my room because I'm too scared to touch it, and I don't have the space or right equipment to display it, so I don't want to ruin it more. Like says, every lake needs its dragon. Exactly, exactly. Like says, we need a Pawn Star style TV show with weird items sent to shrines. Oh my god, we do. We do. We get so many weird things sometimes. Not recently, knock on wood. Watch tomorrow, something's gonna happen now. Kami-sama's like, oh, you said like weird things come to shrines. It's like, no, Kami-sama, no. But yeah, we've gotten a lot of interesting things over the years. But that was the most interesting for me. I think nothing dangerous or like bad. Just like like one time it was like a big like a Buddha scroll, and one time it was like actually like an artifact from like a cult. Like there was like a little artifact from like one of the cults here. I don't remember the name, but like Happy Science kind of thing. And we were like okay, and then there was but the scrolls are kind of normal, like the Sanja Taksen scrolls, and sometimes dolls like Hina Ningyo and stuff. Actually, oh my god, okay, this is a good story to end the stream on. So, I remember when I first moved here, Masafumi Sensei told me a story, and he said, like a long time ago, um, like one day, uh, there was like this kind of like I don't know what it is, like a rumor was spreading around that this was a shrine for Konjin Sama, and like it's true that it's for Konjin Sama, but the rumor was spread in a bad way. So like this shrine is for Konjin Sama basically, like Tenchika no Kami Sama, but it was for curses. So people thought like if they wanted to curse someone, they could come here. They could come here, and Masamune Sensei kept finding like wara ningyo, like the straw dolls, like nailed on the tree like near the entrance. So like they kept finding straw dolls with the nail in them here because people thought Konjin sama would curse the person. And I was like, what? I was like, oh my god. I think if I saw that I would cry. Like I would be so scared. Like I wouldn't be scared of the doll, but I would be scared of like the person's like intentions, that they would be like so mad with someone or like something really bad happened that they would like they would go that far. Because I'm assuming that the I don't know, for people who don't know, or maybe people watching the stream, there is this like old story. It's called Ushi no Toki Mairi, which means that you go on the hour of the ox, which is like 2 a.m. I think, yeah, like 2 a.m. And you go to a shrine and you dress in all white, and I don't know if this person dressed in all white. I don't know what, this is way before my time. But you go to a shrine and you nail a straw doll of the person you hate onto a tree to like curse them. And like it could be any shrine, but I guess because they heard like this is like Konjin Sama's shrine, and Konjin Sama's like scary generally outside of Konko Faith, like I guess they thought their curse would be stronger. So like I think the scariest thing that ended up here was the like straw dolls on the on the tree. Oh my god, I don't know, like it's crazy. Like I swear if I saw something like that now, I don't know what I do. I don't know if I want to touch it. Like I just like, oh my god. But it's very like so like sometimes weird stuff just swirls around. It swirls around here. Video says, "Oh my god, LOL." Konjin sama definitely was like, Ujiko, what should I do with this? Exactly. Oh my goodness. They would have been much happier just doing Toritsugi. Like, I swear. They just let out all their frustration with Toritsugi. They don't need to do the Wara Ningyo. They don't need to do that. But oh my gosh. But eventually it stopped. I guess like they realized like, oh wait, that's not they're like, no, it's not gonna happen. But that was like I think that was like the weirdest in the history of this shrine, the Kyokai. The weirdest object that found its way here. Video says, and when did that stop? When did people stop believing in the cursed shrine? So like I think I would say like people now still like kind of feel it, but like I guess like just over time like people stop. Sorry, there's like there's like something weird on my leg. I'm scared of like, the curse. Like, I feel like a spider or something. I'm like trying to stay cool. But sorry, I don't know when it stopped, but according to Matsuri Sensei, this happened in like the early 2000s, like from like the late 90s, early 2000s, and then it kind of just stopped over time. I think during that time there was a lot of media about like curse dolls and like that kind of thing. Like if there's this anime called Jigoku Shoujo, and that was all about like the cursed dolls and like oh hi Neza-san, oh no, hi, welcome, but yes, oh, welcome. I'm about to wrap up, but let's go for a little bit more. It's let's go for 2 hours. Let's go, but welcome, welcome. But yeah, back then, like around the early, like late 90s, early 2000s, there was a lot of media with like the Waraningyo, like the straw dolls. So I think like it was in the cultural mind, and then people were like got into it, and then they were trying to do like curses and stuff, and then they found out this is a Konjin shrine, and then they were doing curses here. So, but thankfully, it kind of dwindled out. But yeah, yeah, it's interesting because like back then, like you know, like 2002, 2006, I want to say there was like Hell Girl, Jikoku Shoujo. There was there was like Death Note. That's not what I Ningyo, but it was kind of similar with like cursing someone you don't like. And there was like I want to say I'm probably like not remembering this right, but I remember a game like Fatal Frame. When did that come out? Wait, let me check. Okay, yeah, Fatal Frame came out 2001. I think it had stuff like that, and there was like The Ring, and like you know all these Japanese horror stuff was like really coming up in the early 2000s. So that's probably why I'm gonna imagine, because even in Canada that was like a big thing, like Japanese curse stuff. Like nobody did Wara but like there was a lot of like stuff with like it was like back then there was like a trend to like have these little like straw doll guys based on the Wara, and it was kind of like edgy like emo goth culture with Japanese horror elements, and it was like a whole trend. So I'm that's my educated guess why, and then it just faded out over time. But yeah, I wish they did. I would have loved to see it just to like even see the like fascinating history. But oh my god, it's crazy. If there's ever a fad again, um, and someone does it, I will take a picture and I will. I don't know if I'll keep the doll. I may be too scared, but I'll definitely take a picture. Oh my god! But hopefully not. Hopefully not. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. Inez-san says, "Oh, yes." Thank you. I'm sorry. Um, this is there's also a new remake of Fatal Frame 2. Came out around 2 months ago, I think. Oh, yes, yes, yes. That's why it's on my mind. Like, I'm thinking of Fatal Frame. And then I also want to play, like, Silent Hill F. And I don't know if it's actually called Silent Hill F or, like, but, like, I don't know if you pronounce the F as F because it looks like the forte in the music note. I don't know, but I want to play it anyway. It's cool. Um, yeah, I don't know. Japanese horror stuff is pretty cool. But yeah, like it's just crazy. I'm trying to remember. Did I ever tell the story of just thinking about stuff around the Kyokai a little bit more extreme? But did I ever tell the story of the poltergeist that was beside the Kyokai, the shrine, like the shrine? I don't know. I think I've told it sometimes, but I don't think I've ever said it on stream. Well, I'll just say it. And if you heard it before, I apologize. But so, this story happened a long, long time ago. I think when Matsuri Sensei was little, even like so long time, like not long time ago. He's not that old, but you know what I mean. It was like maybe like 40, 30 years ago or something. But so what happened was that in a house beside this one, beside the shrine, um, like there was a mother and a son. Sorry, excuse me. There's a mother and a young son. And the mother unfortunately passed away. I don't know how she passed away, but she passed away. And after she passed away, like the grandparents moved into the house to take care of the son. And while they were living there, like so much weird paranormal activity stuff was happening. So like poltergeist stuff. So like there was like the light and the string for the light, the Japanese lights where there's like a light and there's a string to pull it on. So like the string would be like moving super fast and then the light would be shaking and there would be like doors opening and closing, slamming. There would be like weird like apparitions. There would be like radios turning on, TVs turning on, like all that sort of classic poltergeist kind of stuff. So like the grandparents were pretty scared and the son was pretty scared and like they were kind of feeling like it might have been the mother's spirit, but they don't know, like they didn't actually know because it was all so chaotic and like they were grieving and they didn't know if they were just like it was chaotic, I heard. So the family actually went all the way to the Ryukyu Islands. They went all the way to Okinawa, the Ryukyu Islands, to speak to a Yuta, like a like, the person who, the woman who can communicate with the unseen world, like shaman, Yuta, she can communicate with the unseen world. And so they asked her um, what should we do? Like, what is going on in the house? Like, why is there all this activity? And she said, like, it is the spirit of his mom who regrets leaving her son, and she's worried, and her anxiety is causing all of these disturbances because she cannot rest. Like her spirit cannot rest, so the spirit, like her spirit's like emotions and like energy is like affecting everything in the house. So you have to like pacify her spirit. So they were like, okay, but how do we do this? Like, should you come to our house or like, what should we do? And she said, actually, beside your house, there's a big, 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 big kamisama. She's like, there's a huge kamisama near your house. And she's like, actually, this kamisama is so big that they're not just beside your house, but there's like priests of this kamisama beside your house. And then she said, like, well, like, first of all, before she said this, she consulted with like the gods and the spirits. And then she said, there's a big, big kamisama beside your house. And like they're not only there, but there's priests of that kamisama there. So why didn't you ask them? Like she was like, why didn't you ask them first? But they were like, oh, we didn't know. They were like very shocked. But she said that's okay. Just like ask this priest at that place, and this big, big. She said like oki kamisama, like big, huge kamisama. She said, will help you with this situation. So they went back to here, and they asked Masumi Sensei's father, Kiyoshi Kimoto Sensei. They asked him, "Would you be willing to do a ceremony to help the boy's mother's spirit?" So he, like, of course, he agreed. And in the house, he went to the house and he set up the altar for Kami-sama. And basically, like, you just do a ceremony. I think it's called Mitama Shizume, I'm not sure, but it's like to calm the spirit, like calm the Mitama no Kami-sama, to like assure them that everything will be okay, and like just communicate with them, and like have a moment for them to let go of their regrets and accept the fact that they passed away. That's kind of what the ceremony is for. And it's also the same ceremony to calm down an angry kami-sama, like an aramitama-sama. So it's also the same kind of ceremony, like calm down a kami-sama who's aramitama. So it was that same ceremony. And of course, thankfully, the ceremony went successfully. And after that ceremony, like everything calmed down, like immediately, like everything was just back to normal, and it was all good. But it was pretty fascinating how the Yuta-san, like how she described Kamisama, and how she was like, I don't know how you didn't notice beside your house, like there's this like shrine, but I get it because like here there's no like tori, and there's no like walkway or like koma inu or anything that would like read as like a jinja or anything, or like a shrine or a place where like a kamisama would be worshipped, like to a usual, like to a the typical image of most Japanese people, they wouldn't realize. But the Yuta-san was like very like, how do you not realize? Like she was like, you came all the way here to Ryukyu Islands to something that was right next door you could solve. But that's kind of like the funny part of the story. But thankfully, like basically, it was just really good that they could have the ceremony done, and it was like close by, and like everything went really smoothly. So I don't know. It worked out, and it was all okay. And I don't know. By now, that boy is probably like already 40 or 50 years old. So I don't know who or like where he is. And actually, the house that this incident happened, it was actually it was demolished eventually, and then like new apartments were built there. So it was a long time ago, but I always like that story because like it's interesting. It's like a lot of things. It's like the love between a mother and her son, and then she felt so sad she didn't want to move on, like move on as in like emotionally move on. Like she was angry that her life was taken too early. So, but then like Kami-sama reassured her, and she was able to calm down and like accept her death, and that's really moving too. And the fact that they had like a kind of adventure to go see the Yuta-san, and then the Yuta-san like come back, and it was like right beside them. So I think about that story a lot, and I like that story. But it's really interesting, like how like I feel like everything's connected that way too. Like what I mean by everything's connected is like the unseen world is more connected than the seen world. I feel like because in like Utsushio in the seen world, like they couldn't like the family couldn't realize like Kamisama's worship hall is like right beside them. But for someone who knew the unseen world, someone who knew Kakurio, she was like it's right there. Like you didn't notice, but um so it's interesting like that, It could also be like I like the story too because it kind of shows how like we might not really realize like the powers like around us, like the divine power and presences around us too. And we always should try to like connect as well to the presences around us. I think that's also a good thing too. Yeah, a lot of interesting stories, and not in many books. Just like random stories I hear, like just talking about it. So, but it's interesting. I don't think I have any more stories that I can think about. Mm, nope, I can't remember them now. But yeah, this show has a long history. It's been like it's gonna be 130 years soon in 2028. It's the 130th year anniversary, so there's a lot of stories. But yeah, so I don't know. Does anyone have any more comments or questions? This might be a good place to end. 2 hours. But I'm sorry, Naza-san. I want to stay longer, but mm, sorry. But next time, what day is it today? Is it Tuesday? Okay, yeah, but uh, Saturday, the 25th, we have live stream and the monthly ceremony. So hopefully it'll be good. Yes. Sorry, but yeah, I will go sleep now. I'm sorry. It's 2:20, but yeah, sorry. But yes, if there's anything you want to ask next time or like have a topic, feel free to let me know. So I'll uh, sure to say it on stream and talk about it. Yeah, today was very fun. Today was very fun. I have to read more about the longer timeline and a lot of mysteries to find out. Anyway, a lot of interesting topics today. So thank you so much, everyone. And I'll try to find a picture of that interesting mirror. Yes. And I'm happy to share the stories. Thank you for listening too. Okay, well, just take care, everyone. Have a good day or good night where you are. And thank you for coming. And see you next time if you are able to. Yeah. またね。ありがとうございます。バイバイ。バイバイ。